Hey, Daryl here, and this is my daily devotional. This Bible study is sad for me. I'll tell you why. Because as generations come and generations go, there seems to be a generational falling away from the Lord. And that seems to be a cycle that was true in Israel, and it's true in the church age. I pray for a revival to receive the Spirit of God in a new way that would clamp onto the hearts of the new generation, a generation that has fallen away from the faith of their forefathers. We're in Judges chapter 2, and it tells us that Joshua has died at the age of 110, and he's buried in the land of his inheritance. And then it says to us at verse 10, after that whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up, who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. How sad is that? God brought Israel out of the wilderness into the promised land. And now Joshua, their leader, has died. And it says Israel had a generation come, a generation go, and now they do evil in the eyes of the Lord, and they're worshiping the Baals. Folks, it is so important that we pass the truth of the gospel from one generation to another generation so that it is not lost, because you realize it only takes one generation who does not pass on the good news of Jesus Christ to another generation, and a whole generation comes and goes. I was talking with Leslie just yesterday, and she kind of fit to be tied, to be honest, about the possibility of having to teach the history of gays and lesbians in our country. And then there's been this thing on Facebook that says, that's okay if we start the history lesson with Sodom and Gomorrah. And then Leslie said to me, it's so sad that most of our students have no idea what Sodom and Gomorrah is, where God killed a whole region over the issue of homosexuality. It takes one generation to not pass on Scripture's truths to another generation, and they're ignorant in the purest form of the word. They just don't know. And then they do evil in the eyes of the Lord. Oh, God, help us. Lord, send a great revival to our land, because that's what happened in a cycle effect here in Israel. Scripture goes on and tells us in chapter 2, the Lord raised up judges. This is verse 16. The Lord raised up judges who saved them out of the hands of these raiders. Yet they would not listen to the judges, but they prostituted themselves to other gods and worshiped them. And like their fathers, they quickly turned from the way in which their fathers had walked, the way of obedience to the Lord's commands. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge for them, he was with the Lord and was saving the people. And then they would turn away again. And so the judges would come along that God raised up, and they would draw the people back to the Lord, but the people were resistant to it. They would still want to prostitute themselves off to these foreign gods. And then once again, you'd see that cycle occur. So I pray that we would have an everlasting revival come along, so that the folks who don't know, purely don't know the truths of Scripture and the hope in Jesus Christ, that they may know now before it's eternally too late. God bless you. Good day.